Welcome to this week's episode of Shop Talk. We're going to finally finish up this minifigure tower display. The goal of this week, since we've gotten it all printed, gotten it all assembled here, we're going to go ahead and do the electronics. We'll go ahead and install all the magnets, and we'll even put a coat of paint on this, and then I'll give you guys the final showcase. So yeah, this has been quite an ordeal. Things I like and don't like real quick. The new columns here, that was a big win. They print without supports, print a lot faster. I don't love this top carry handle, but it's pretty sturdy, and I think it'll do a good job. The other thing I don't think I like are the 1-inch strap holes here. I think they'll work great, but I plan on just gluing this thing together. Because I've noticed that most of my minis will fit despite the height of the column, even though I have 3 to 4 different height columns here. Really, only 1 to 2 different heights are needed. And if I have any really large ones, I can put them either down here on the bottom or up here on the top. And that should suffice for this. So going forward, if I make another one of these, I'll probably print it without these straps, because my printer doesn't love printing those little 1-inch strap holes there. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this. I've got a time-lapse camera going, so you don't have to sit here and watch it all, because these podcasts have been getting really long. So we'll try to keep this one short, around an hour. Follow along, and we'll get this done. All right, we have all the parts here. So first thing we want to do is go ahead and get the wires in to these columns. This is probably going to be the most difficult part of the whole build. I haven't really decided the best way to do this yet, but so what we have to do is we have to get the LEDs in to the LED spots, and then we have to somehow pull them out the top, connect them to wire, and send them back down so that we can wire them all together. All right, let's do this. I've kind of goofed around with some ways to do it to make it a little bit quick and easier. So I'm going to take a little bit of copper wire I have from electroplating. I'm going to squish it nearly flat here. You'll see why I'm doing this here in a second. So once we put the LED in the hole, we need a way to get it up. So I'm going to stick this down and pull the LED up. That's kind of a hook to get it to go up, because a lot of times it wants to curve down, because that's the way I designed it, which was dumb, but that's what it is. Okay, so let's get started by installing 2 whites here. That's it. That one's done. Easy enough. So what we want to do is keep the voltage on all of these the same. So there's a couple ways we can do that. Probably what I'll do is just use copper strand wire and wire them all along one wire point, and that will keep the voltage the same across the entire length, and we'll have another one for the negative lead. And so each LED will be connected between the 2 wires, and that should keep the voltage the same across all of them, versus wiring them end to end, which would drop the voltage. What I'd like to do is probably get all the LEDs in and then move on to connecting them. So I'm only going to start by doing the backs. You know, I wonder, it might actually look better from the front if I do the front. So we're going to do the front. And if we need to add the back, we can. So we're going to do LEDs, all of these. Warm white. White. These are both white. So we just did white. Let's do some warm whites. We're going to do these on the front column so that the light shines backwards onto the model. And we're going to start by going up with the wires. We're going to glue these in place while they're separate from the column. That way they're done. All we have to do is worry about connecting them later. And that will be easy enough. And I'm just using a coin battery to test these while I'm assembling them. You could run this off a power supply indefinitely so that it looks great the entire time you have it out. I mean, as long as you run the correct voltage on these LEDs, they should last for a really long time. Because it's not like you're going to ever want to replace these. So we're going to do 2 bright whites. Look at there, we're getting better at this. Maybe just a little better. I think the trick is to shove way more wire in there and then make the bend and then just grab it. You know what? I hate it. Alright, we're halfway done. See if we can speed this pony up a little bit. Columns are done. Base is done. I take it back. Take it back. Almost done. All right, and this part should be actually really, really simple. So. This is just a straight shot. Yes. God, I hate it. Let's just make sure we got the right colors, and then we'll just be done with it. All right, so let's get this thing finished up. So let's start with the battery compartment. We need to run a wire from here through the whole entire tower. So what we're doing is clamping a piece of wire here. We're going to run it through the tower in the order that we would assemble it. Alright, so we're going to leave these a little long and we're going to cut them here. And we're actually going to do the same thing on the other side because that works so well. We're just going to do both wires at the same time. If I can find my long wire. Oh man, it went all the way. Since we did them together, we'll just put the wires together. I'm going to clamp them into the bottom of this copper wire. And we're done. Same thing, we'll leave it long and we'll cut the wires. And we just have 2 more. And I think we can do the same thing, and these things will be pretty close to being wired up. All right, everything's wired up finally. That took forever, but now we can start soldering this back together. We've got LEDs everywhere we want them. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I wish you could see this better, is we're gonna basically just cut these wires in half at each junction where there is a solder point that needs to happen. And then we are going to strip the wires, join them together with a little bit of solder, and move our way all the way up through this device. And I'm just going to, again, time lapse through that so you guys don't have to watch and listen to me struggle this whole time. All right, guys, let's finally finish this up. I've got everything painted. Now we just need to get the minis ready for the trays. And he's gone. So I've already finished these trays here. I just put a gravel substance on them and then sprayed some sprayable Mod Podge on there to kind of lock that in place. A few of these have magnets in them already. While we're here, we're going to actually test to see if the little cheap circle magnets work better, or if we should use some stronger neodymium magnets, some rare earth magnets that I've got, to see which will function better. I've got a couple different sizes so we can see how big of one we need. Thinking probably this medium size will probably serve us best here, and this little magnet may hold just as well as those bigger magnets and cost about the same. So we'll have to see how that works. Honestly, if it holds about the same, then it's probably actually going to be better to use these bigger magnets, as they probably weigh a little bit more. However, I did use one model somewhere. Let me find it. This one. And I used a large rare earth magnet on top of that magnet, and it has some heft to it. And that model is 100% not going to go anywhere if this ever tips over. Whereas these other magnets on larger, heavier models, because this one's got a lot of stuff built into it, if it went more than, say, that this many degrees, it would probably at some point fall. Yeah. Whereas that one, I mean, you would have to really try hard to knock it off. So it's probably going to be, if your goal is to use this as a transport, it's probably going to be a lot better to use these stronger, larger magnets. But we'll do a couple tests here to see which one works best and go from there. So I've got some identical guards here. These are going to be the ones I use to test. Some of them I've actually glued pennies on before I decided to do a magnet system, so I will take those off and we will test all three magnets side by side, especially because these guards are so hardy that they're probably not going to break very easily. So we'll start with the largest rare earth magnet here. And I think these can go either way. I don't think the polarity matters as far as which way to connect to these other magnets. So feel free to put them on either way. Let's see. Yes, that is almost strong enough to lift up that entire tray. So that would go nowhere. 100% upside down, shake it. That is not going to budge. That's a very strong magnet. And that would honestly be ideal, especially if you had a magnetic game table or something that you wanted to play with. However, those magnets are a lot more expensive than these magnets. So let's see if maybe one of these smaller magnets might work just as well. And if so, then we would probably use those instead. And these just happen to be the magnets I have. There's probably a size in between these two that would honestly be ideal. But we'll test the ones we have. And you can always compensate for the weight of the magnet by printing a solid base for these. And whatever we end up deciding on is probably what I will make a custom base for. That way, these magnets fit perfectly. These are just the pre-stickied regular old refrigerator magnets. The reason we like to use these, if at all possible, is because they're super cheap. So we will take another figure. We will pop a magnet underneath it. Stick him there. And let's do one last one, and let's just double the magnet for these cheap ones and see if that makes a difference. It may not. Be good to know. Okay. So they're all very well stuck. I mean, they're not going anywhere, but let's do a tilt test real quick so that we can see which of these 4 guardsmen is going to fall off first, and then which one. Clearly the largest magnet here is going to be the strongest, but let's see if all or none of them can go completely upside down. Okay, so the first that fell was the smaller neodymium magnet, so clearly that's not ideal. The single magnet has come loose at roughly 90. And the double magnet came loose at roughly upside down. So it looks like a very clear winner is the larger neodymium magnet. And I don't know if that's something you guys want to use or not. Those are, I mean, they're not terribly expensive, but they're not cheap either. So I would probably use these if it were me. Actually, I think I do know. I think I would use the regular magnets for most of them, because really we just don't want them falling when we're moving the tray around, because these, I mean, you move the tray and they fall. What we want is to be able to pick up the tray. We're hopefully going to be gentle enough that we can lift these up and put them in the system without bumping them around so much that they fall. So let's do that test. Let's put these guardsmen back on there. And let's see if, I mean, side to side movement, putting them in here kind of roughly, put them down. Really the only one that's not strong enough for what I would want is this little rare earth. And I think this double cheap magnet sticks up too high, because it makes the game piece come off the ground a little bit here, so you have a gap. So honestly, I think in a perfect world, I think if I smoothed out this base to be a perfect fit for this magnet, which is pretty close as it is, and made the recess an exact fit, I think this would actually be perfect for this, and it would be relatively cheap for all of you guys out there. And honestly, like, just picking it up, it's fairly stable. It's not going anywhere. And honestly, I think it'd be perfect for a storage solution like this. It can be taken in and out fairly quickly. You're not having to worry about them fall. And so I think that's the route we're going to go, guys. And well, before I go, I think what is going to be the perfect solution is, so for these 1-inch minis, I think these cheap magnets are going to be the way to go. However, when you have these larger figures that have the heavier bases, I think you're going to want to use the larger magnets to hold these in place. If you want to use a magnet at all, honestly, they fit pretty good in the slots, and they hold themselves there pretty well, because the bigger minis are actually pretty heavy. So, I mean, they don't tumble as much. However, this one's probably a little top heavy, so it'll probably be a little. But honestly, I mean, the recess in it, you can still go in and out of the storage tower pretty quick. So, but I don't know. Up to you guys. I'm going to make some custom bases for these, and I will include those in the files that fit these recesses. And that way you have every single thing you need to make this system work for you. It will all be free. So go check it out. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these magnetized and on the board, and then I will give you the guys the final showdown.